Just got out of the shower and saw this. How about this? It's pretty cool. I tell you, I like to see all the changes that have come to the game so far in season two. I'm going to tell you right now before we even start this video. Season one, I was pretty upset with how few changes were made to the game. Not necessarily to classes, but mostly to Mythic Plus. Just as an aside, think they're doing a great job in season two. Constant dungeon changes. Feels like every week more changes happen. That Vortex Pinnacle ad has been nerfed like 4 times now. And class changes haven't been as frequent, but frankly, I don't really feel like they needed to be as frequent. Things are pretty balanced, but these are some nice changes. I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm very satisfied with this. So, as we continue to monitor class performance in instance groups, we regularly adjust classes that are over or underperforming. Based on recent data and observations, we intend to make the following adjustments with the reset on June 6th. So, Blood DK, yes, I always love it because it's the first spec as well on the list. Blood DK, all damage abilities are increased by 8%. Still really conservative, feels like not really enough, but I will tell you, I've been pretty satisfied with my damage. We got some good situations with gear and trinket and stuff. Like, I could do some nice AoE now with everything up, but yeah, it's certainly, still kind of hovered around that 60k overall mark. I don't have foresight, but whatever. Gear's not finished, but at the end of the day, obviously, there's a huge discrepancy between something like Prop Pally and Vengeance and something like Blood DK. So, but there's a lot more stuff that we don't really necessarily talk too much about, but some changes to Feral, Preservation Evoker as well. Damage buff for Preservation Evoker, which it's very interesting because in season one, they were like gods of DPS. And then apparently a lot of that was because of their set bonus, which I don't have any idea why, but that's, gone. So now in season two, they're actually going to just buff the Preservation Evokers. I guess that's like one of their main spells. I don't really understand how it works, but no AoE buff. But yeah, it was definitely nerfed coming into the season from what I could tell. I like playing with Preservation Evoker, so it's nice to see them get a damage buff. BM Hunter, apparently one of the worst specs overall DPS right now. So only 5% buff. Now, Fire Mage is the surprising one. We have actually seen some absolutely electric Fire Mage players recently. The spec is not what it used to be in terms of its wishy-washy DPS outside of CDs, but I think that's probably still true. And these are some strange changes knowing that because, I don't fully understand how their CDs work, but I'm pretty sure these are just the spells you use without regard of the CDs, right? Like nothing actually changes. Other than, I guess, the AoE, like they don't have whatever, like Flame Strike on the list. But so big single target buff, is that what this is? Which again is surprising to me because I have seen Fire Mage do very, very good single target. Right now, I feel like Frost and Arcane are really good. Let's actually take a look here just real quick at what is going on in terms of mages. Yeah, you see Fire is actually the #1 spec of all mages. So I'm surprised by that. It must be a raid problem. I don't fully see it, but I was really shocked to see Fire Mage. Now, Brewmaster is maybe the strangest one, but again, it's basically a single target buff, seemingly. 30% on Blackout Kick and Tiger Palm, and then 10% on Rising Sun Kick, which I believe is already their hardest hitting single target spell, and then a blanket 3% on top of these, I guess. Like, I never know how that works. If you do blanket 3% and then another 10%, is it 3% and then 10%? Or is it just instead of 3%, these spells are 10 and 30 and everything else is 3? I don't really know. But Brewmaster historically was one of the highest damage dealing tanks. And I guess that was some kind of bug with Weapons of Order because they nerfed that and people were saying it's like catastrophic for their DPS. But again, this is all single target. Well, mostly all single target. So you guys tell me. I know there's a lot of Brewmaster players this season, especially what you guys think. Mistweaver small buff too to healing this time, so not damage, which I don't know. Mistweaver seems like it's solid. I'm surprised where they sitting. Well, second to last, but people play Holy Priest all the time, no problem. So Assassination Rogue, we played with one this week, and they were not bad, to be honest. So 5% buff to them. I think it's a lot of optics when you see something like this here, where Sub is just dominating, and even Outlaw doing very well. Then this here, it's like, well, yeah, but unfortunately, Unholy not far behind them. So Warlock is getting some. I don't know anything about Warlock, but I have heard that there's a lot of weird stuff going on with Warlock. So we'll just move on from that. But apparently, not really damage changes. So Now, Arms Warrior, another one that's in the boat of kind of optics, I feel like, because I have seen Arms Warrior do decent. Like they compete. Fury Warrior is very good damage. Arms is solid, I think, is probably the way to put it. But they're getting big buffs to, looks like a lot of their dot damage. I believe these are big sources of their dot damage in AoE. I don't know for sure. And then all ability damage, again, 4% across the board. And then Prot Warrior. This is the really interesting one to me because for pretty much all of season one, Prot Warrior was like a Goliath, like unkillable, crazy AoE DPS. And I guess it was because of some kind of bug. I don't really, you guys tell me what happened with that. I didn't follow it, but I've heard people say that they changed some talent somewhere. And that was just, that's it. Prot Warrior's damage was awful after that. And you see reliably, Prot Warrior is the worst tank. And when there's a tier in between them, I always take that like to mean something, but I don't know for sure what that means. But always, every time I click on this website, they are the last tank. So all damage by 8%, auto attack damage by 10%, which tells me their single target must be very bad. I don't know why you'd buff auto attack damage specifically. Spell blocks duration increased to 30 seconds, so that's like a pretty substantial change to that spell, I feel like. And then Thunderlord now causes each enemy hit by Thunderclap to reduce the remaining cooldown of Demo Shout by 1.5 seconds. Before it was 1 second and up to 3 seconds max. So this is something that I'm pretty sure was overpowered the whole time. And maybe they undertuned it at some point. Like this was in the game since BFA. It's just not, it shouldn't be in the game. I think like this spell, this interaction is too volatile. It's really hard to get it right because haste values, things like Bloodlust, like things change. And especially with a couple of the talents Prot Warrior has, probably really hard to keep that balanced. So they're always walking that thin line. But so they got a big offensive and defensive buff. Seemingly that is like a huge defensive buff because now, realistically, you're going to have another second and a half off every thunderclap because, as long as it hits a couple targets, that is maximized. And in Mythic Plus, you almost always do that. So Prot Warrior, big defensive buffs. Blood DK doesn't get anything changed other than offense, which I think is all they really need. So you guys tell me, what do you think? 8%, is that enough? Frankly, my first inclination is no, but we're always talking about erring on the side of caution with Blood DK DPS. One, because I think everybody agrees that it's like super fun, and if it's really powerful, everybody's just going to flock to it, which, whatever, I get that. I don't think that's a reason to not tune it properly. But second of all, if its damage was as good as Prot Warrior, then it would just be like really, like people would just think that was the best pick because it's like self-healing is so valuable, especially in a pug world, and they have that in spades. So I'm down with that. I don't really care. Offense, whatever. That comes second. Defense, really good position right now. So tell me what you guys think. Hope you're enjoying Diablo. Let me know. We have some videos still to make this weekend, but otherwise we'll be back looking forward to this reset on June 6th so we can test it out, and make sure you stay tuned to that stream on Tuesday because that's going to be a fun time to see what an 8% damage buff looks like for, roughly around 60k overall right now. So we'll see how it plays out.